Shedding light on what might have sparked the FBI investigation into Russian meddling in the 2016 election. The headline, how the Russia inquiry began. A campaign aide, drinks, and talk of political dirt. A short time ago, NBC's Garrett Hake explained that the report links the FBI inquiry, which started in July 2016, to indicted Trump campaign aide George Papadopolous.
The Trump campaign and Trump White House has done everything they can to make Papadopolous seem like a minor player. They called him a coffee boy. They said he really wasn't that deeply involved in the campaign. The Times reporting here shows something very different. And specifically, they cite a conversation that Papadopolous is alleged to have had in London weeks before any of the WikiLeaks emails stolen from Democrats meant to make Hillary Clinton look bad had come out, in which Papadopolous told an Australian diplomat that the Russians had emails that would be damaging to Hillary Clinton.
Papadopolous pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI and is now cooperating with special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. Let's bring in Barbara McQuaid, former U.S. attorney in Michigan and an MSNBC contributor. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Talk to us about the significance of this report.
Well, I think there's a couple of very significant points here. Number one, it's pretty clear now that it wasn't this dossier created and funded by political rivals of Donald Trump that began this investigation. It was a genuine lead developed by Australian intelligence and passed over to United States intelligence that began this investigation. So the idea that this is a politically motivated witch hunt, I think, has been put to rest. The other thing is, I think it's a great reminder about how much more information Robert Mueller and the FBI have than is publicly known. They are tight-lipped. They are working steadily toward their goal, but they likely know lots of things based on foreign surveillance, intelligence collection, intelligence sharing that is not known to the public and may or may not be publicly disclosed at some point down the road.
So what's your gut telling you? I mean, in the days and weeks ahead as we face 2018, is this one of those things that's going to kind of bubble up to the surface? I mean, if he cooperates and he's talking, what's your gut tell you?
Well, it's very difficult to speculate in a case like this, but I have long thought that George Papadopolous, to receive the plea deal that he received, likely has information that is of great value to Mueller and his team. And so we'll see where that leads. No doubt there are other investigations of interviews being done, of documents being looked at, and whether that results in charges or not, we'll see. But I think that Robert Mueller will get there, and, I think the president really should embrace this investigation, because if ultimately Robert Mueller clears President Trump, what better exoneration can he have? So I think we all need to sit tight and wait and see where it leads.
All right. Well, on that note, then, let me shift gears just a little bit. Another new report this week indicated that Mr. Trump's legal team is preparing to brand Michael Flynn, former White House National Security Advisor, as a liar in the event that he implicates the president in any wrongdoing. Up until now, Mr. Trump has had nothing but praise for Flynn. Is this unusual for a defense team?
It's really a pretty common tactic for a defense team when you have a cooperator, especially someone who has pleaded guilty to lying to the FBI, to cast him as a liar and to try to discredit any testimony that he may give at a trial or a hearing or an impeachment proceeding down the road. What's tricky about that are a couple things. Number one is the prosecution no doubt understands that. It happens in cases all the time. And so they will work to corroborate anything that he has to say with independent evidence, looking for objective phone records, bank records, documents, things that don't lie. The other, I think, problem that President Trump will have are his own tweets and his own public statements where he has praised Michael Flynn as a great leader, as a hero, as a good guy. And I think that may maybe make it difficult for him down the road. That's why lawyers tell their clients not to talk about an investigation, because your strategy may change by the time you get to trial.
And as you know by now, the president also did this impromptu interview with the New York Times, and he used the word collusion at least 23 times. If, as he claims, there was no collusion between his campaign and Russians, why does his legal team need this contingency plan then?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I think that President Trump understands that he is playing not only to the court, but also to the court of public opinion, and wants to maintain his popularity with his base and with politics. So, he talks about things like collusion, which, of course, as we've discussed many times, is not a legal term and is not a crime, but that's sort of the shorthand version he uses. Frankly, if you ask me, I think there is collusion. We've got contacts between George Papadopolous. We've got contacts with Donald Trump Jr. So if collusion means getting together and talking with the Russians. I think we have that, but I think what President Trump means is efforts to coordinate and interfere with the election. I think he is talking the political angle while his lawyers are working on the legal angle.
There's one more piece I want to throw in here. I feel like I'm just throwing things at you, but you're good, so you can. Okay, the Daily Beast is reporting that Mueller may indict Paul Manafort again. Political reporter Betsy Woodruff writes that no one's finances are off limits, and if 2017 had the president's inner circle sweating, 2018 could feel like a sauna. Is the Trump legal team preparing for this possibility?
So I do, but to indict someone after they've already been indicted is not really that unusual. It's called a superseding indictment. In fact, it's fairly common. What you might do is indict someone like Paul Manafort with a number of charges and let him know. You still have an opportunity to cooperate if you want to. You'd have to plead guilty to what you've been charged with. But as you know, we have additional crimes we continue to investigate. If he says no, then you may bring those additional charges, or it may be that the charges that are still pending weren't ready at the time the prior indictment came down. For example, I think many people wonder why he hasn't been charged with any tax offenses. In light of the other kinds of crimes that he is charged with, it seems likely that Mueller could also pretty easily add a tax violation there. So I think a superseding indictment against Paul Manafort is a very strong possibility in 2018.
Good discussion on this Saturday afternoon. Barbara McQuaid, thank you for your time today. Happy New Year.
Thanks very much for having me.